This Halloween, the pretty girl next door wants to invite you in for a treat. Or a trick. Witch Tales.
Hello, my missing ingredient.
Witch Tales. See it with someone who doesn't bite. Much.
The real question is this: are comic books good or are they not good?
Haunted Thrillers.
I was fascinated with pre-code horror. One of the first major collections I bought was the Spokane collection, which had an incredible array of pre-code horror comic books.
Of course, doing the horror stories was a lot of fun. You could imagine how much fun it was to put these stories together, and you could do them any way you wanted.
I had no guidelines at all or restrictions. They would say to me, Ray, we're doing eerie comics. Here are the stories that are going in there. I'd look through them and I'd take things that I thought would illustrate them.
Stan looked at the letter and he says, I said, Mr. Lee, would you like to look at some of my work? He says, no, Jack says you're a good artist. He says, here, I want this back in a week.
All right, folks. Welcome to the Horror Mike Show at this new time, 9 p.m. Now, hopefully, things are looking pretty good. I'm going to check out the freaking live monitor right now and see what's going on. Hey, that looks pretty reasonable. This might be a better time, folks. From what I could see, it at least the image looks pretty good on this end. Anyways, so that's a good sign right there. 9 p.m. I think it might be the new time for the Horror Mike Show on Friday night. Now, we are doing a two-parter for this New Year's Eve weekend. Of course, tonight is part 1 of another show on the 100th anniversary of Weird Tales Pulp magazine. Now, tonight we're going to be taking a look at the pulp magazines themselves and books, including Arkham House books. Now, as you can see behind me, this whole stack of books here and the pulp magazines, which you can probably barely see, I'm going to be bringing those out, okay? So you guys can see these up close and personal. You're going to dig the hell out of them. Sunday, we're going to take a look at Weird Tales inspired movies, either directly or indirectly. There are hundreds, perhaps thousands of them. So we're going to find out just how many on Sunday. We're going to take a good look at that, plus Weird Tales in the comic books. And what I mean by that, of course, you have writers such as H.P. Lovecraft, Robert Bloch, Ray Bradbury, Robert E. Howard, all of these writers that wrote for Weird Tales magazine and were eventually adapted to comic book form. So we're going to be taking a look at those. I have some in my collection, and we'll be taking a look at some online, but there are quite a few, and they go back at least until I would say the early 1950s. Personally, for my stuff, I think through the 80s, into the Copper Age. So we're going to be looking at those as well. But let me check out the chat real quick. I just want to see if you guys are just a quick question, you guys. Okay, so I'm getting a thumbs up from Michael Taylor. Picture is clear on my end. Great. Another thing I've done too, folks, is yes, I've got the external Audio Technica microphone. So the audio should be much, much better than the Nexigo audio that you're accustomed to hearing. Of course, once again, I'm using my editor computer, so it can handle the load theoretically. So let me know if the audio on your end sounds better. It should. Okay, there should be pretty much no echo or any issues. It should be quite rock solid. All right, folks. So, okay, so remember last Sunday, of course, we had Scream Queen Stephanie Beaton. She was on the program, and I proceeded to make pancakes in Horror Mike's kitchen with Santa Skelly. Now, what happened, of course, after I bought that pancake mix and syrup from Cousin T's, I got an email. Typically, it's like, would you like to review the product? So, of course, I did, and I added a photo. Okay, folks. So here it is. Check it out. It is now on Cousin T's website. I thought you would get a kick out of this. There you go. As you can recall, I'm in the kitchen. I'm showing those flapjacks as I'm making them. And there you can see Santa Skelly in the background looking on to the proceedings. Oh, yes. So I thought that was pretty hilarious, I mean, they got the Horror Mike Show on Cousin T's, folks. Come on now. Come on. That's what I'm saying. Let's go to the chat, shall we? Michael Taylor is here. Hello, Mike. Yes, it's unusual late start, but I think it's for the best. You guys have got to tell me. It must be better. Definitely killing the 7 p.m. slot the original time slot because that was just bad news. 8 p.m. was a little better, but still kind of wonky. I believe that 9 p.m. may be the sweet spot for Friday night. You guys tell me, because, it's the one thing about doing a live show. There are two aspects, obviously, the video and the audio. Now, as long as you can hear me, that's good. It doesn't matter that the audio is like, perfect or whatever, as long as I'm completely, clear when I'm speaking. But the video's got to be relatively clear or it's a no-go. It can't be blurry. It can't be lagging and stopping every 5 seconds, or otherwise it's not going to work. So that's the reason for switching to this 9 p.m. slot. And I hope that it's an improvement. That's all I'm saying, because if it is, then we're going to be doing 9 p.m. from now on. I think it's going to be the way we go with the Horror Mike show, if you will. Folks, I'm enjoying some Nescafe instant coffee in my Cosmic Horror Monthly mug. Oh, yes. It's a fine beverage, indeed. But let's move on into the chat here. We have Werewolf by Lunchtime. Hello, good morning. Werewolf, how about those stocks? You are 12 hours in the future. We need a stock report or something. For Christ's sake, good to see you, man. Eric is here. Hello, Eric. Great to see you, sir. We got Joe on the scene. Hello, Joe. Kevin Hellon is here. Hello, Kevin. It is great to see you, my good man. Folks, Kevin is a dear old friend of mine from many, many years back. We hung out together in Los Angeles and Orange County back in the 80s, folks. And actually from the late 70s into the 80s. So we go back quite a ways, and we're actually still talking to each other, which is, there you go. That's something right there. But it's great to see Kevin here. Fantastic. One of these days I may have to get him on the show, because we do have some really great conversations about, in particular, about science fiction, cosmic horror. We have that thing going all the way back, to the 70s and 80s. We went to conventions together, we went to a lot of punk rock shows together. Oh boy. Back in the late especially for me, it was like 79 to 85 maybe was the high point. And it was great in Los Angeles, Orange County. So many groups, folks. So many groups. Wall of Voodoo, Agent Orange, the Dickies, God, you name it, the Cramps, fantastic. And just dive-ass clubs, Social Distortion at the Commonwealth Pub. We got some stories about that. There's no doubt about that, man. Good Lord. So we're just a couple of old punks, folks. Punk rockers, okay? With one foot on the brake. That's what I'm saying. Good to see you here, Kevin. Everybody's saying hello. Hello, hello. Eric says, "Hail Horror Mike. Good God, man. Great to see you. Have you flipped any pancakes of late?" I did. Actually, I made a few. I believe it was on Wednesday. It was Wednesday morning, Eric. And it was the same thing. Now, that's something about the Cousin T pancake mix. If you just do the basic thing, which is what I did, of course, for the show on Sunday, it's just you do the mix in water. That's it, right? You can add, they have another recipe where you can add all this stuff. I swear to God, there's 7 ingredients you can mix into it. Folks, I'm just not that fancy. Okay, that's all there is to it. Mike is not a fancy boy. Let's put it that way. It's got to be lean and mean. Like a sex machine, really. That's pretty much where that's at. Gary Carlisle is here. Hello, Gary. Great to see you, my good man. Kevin saying his hellos to everyone. Indeed. Good God. PBR Street Gang is here. Hello, PBR. Great to see you, man. Eric says stream quality is looking good and sounding good thus far. Horror Mike, that's good. So it does kind of look like we're going to stick with this 9 p.m. Friday night deal, you know, and I think I am going to continue off and on with Sunday shows, definitely having a Sunday nooner this Sunday as part 2 of the Weird Tales 100th anniversary show. Look, folks, this year was the 100th anniversary, 2023. So as you know, we're about to leave 2023, going to 2024. I wanted to do a final blowout for Weird Tales, you know, just put it all out there. Because, as I've said before, the amount of influence that Weird Tales Pulp magazine has had on horror, science fiction, and fantasy is immeasurable. It is vast. I would guarantee, I would put money on it, that everybody in the chat right now that owns horror comics, horror books, horror magazines, that a large percentage of all of those has something directly or indirectly to do with Weird Tales magazine. I would guarantee, put money on it. That's how influential, you know, I mean, it's kind of like with all of the writers that sprang from Weird Tales. And of course, Weird Tales also published stories posthumously from authors like Edgar Allan Poe and so forth. So that does figure into it as well. But man, so many people cut their teeth writing for Weird Tales. It's nuts, you know, throughout that incredible span from 1923 to 1954, almost 300 issues, folks. Okay. It's mind-boggling, the influence that Weird Tales has had on our culture. Definitely our culture, as far as like talking about science fiction, horror, and fantasy. One of the biggest, in my opinion. Absolutely one of the biggest. And we're going to be going through all of that tonight and Sunday. Now, Sunday is going to be, as I said before, a bigger movie day and comics, horror comics day, as far as, you know, the connection between Weird Tales. There's plenty of them. It's absolutely amazing. So we're going to get into that. Werewolf says, perfect picture and sound. This is, it's starting to seem like, folks, that we found it. We have found the sweet spot on this Friday night. See here. Picture is clear on my end. Fantastic. Gotham City Comics is here. Hello, Gotham City. How are you doing? Kevin says, looks good. Great, great. Good news, good news. Michael Taylor, very cool. Another Sunday nooner. New Year's Eve, that is. Yes, it is. It's going to be a rockin' New Year's Eve with H.P. Lovecraft. Okay. and the multitudinous hordes from the outer worlds. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of thing I'm talking about for New Year's Eve, folks. Who knows? Who knows how long that show's going to last, too? May it last until midnight? I don't know. It's possible. Anything's possible, folks. With enough stimulants. I mean, with enough inspiration, you can get through it there. Eric says, just a brief reminder to all the cool cats watching and listening. Don't forget to hit that like button. Thank you, Eric. I do appreciate that, my good man. Everybody's still saying their hellos. Audio sounds good on my end. Fantastic. I hope it's a marked improvement, actually, from the previous audio, because this microphone is definitely superior to the Nexigo. I like the Nexigo video, but this audio kicks butt. Werewolf by Lunchtime says the Sunday Nooner will be 1 a.m. New Year's Day in Perth. I will be hammered. Waha! There you go. Well, then I'll have to catch up to you. You know, I've got my surprise drinky winky for Sunday. Although I don't know if I should. God, I don't know if I'll be whipping that sucker out on Sunday at noon. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. That's a little early, I think. I don't know. Eric says, nice, you're famous thanks to Cousin T. Yeah, maybe a lot of people from Cousin T's are like, hey, who's this horror Mike guy? Let's check him out. Who's that skeleton on his wall? What the heck? He's wearing a Santa hat. Who knows, folks? Steve Harrison is here. Hello, Steve. Good to see you. PBR Street Gang, those pancakes were crazy hoot. And you got on their site. That is freaking awesome. Yeah, look, those guys are cool, folks. It's cousintees.com. If you want pancakes or pancake mix, pancake syrup, and a variety of other things that aren't woke, check out Cousin T's. I'm going to bring it up. As a matter of fact, I should just bring it up. Let's go from here, folks, right to the website. Okay. I think that's in order. There he is. Merry Christmas from Cousin T's. There he is, Terrence, there with the stuff. And we all know about the whole thing, the deplatforming, the whatever you want to call it, of Aunt Jemima, taking her off of Aunt Jemima's syrup, and now it's like Pearl Mining Company or some crap. So Terrence is a comedian, and he's, he likes to do all kinds of stuff. He formed this company, Cousin T, as an answer to them striking Aunt Jemima, right? So the aunt may be gone, but the cousin is in, folks. He's got a ton of stuff. Really, if you want to go gourmet, he's got gingerbread pancakes, pumpkin spice pancakes. Of course, I just got the basic mix there. He's got blueberry pancakes, cinnamon, apple cinnamon, holy Toledo, all kinds of stuff. So the one thing about Cousin T's is that definitely it is a cut above any store-bought mix I've ever had. That's an absolute fact. They taste great. But it's also a middle finger to cancel culture. And I really dig the hell out of that. So once again, folks, that is Cousin T's. I'm going to drop that in the chat right now, in case you want to check it out. Now, typically speaking, he's got sales that span anywhere from 15 to even 30% off. When you get into the 20% off range, that brings the price down to like reasonable, because of course it costs more. You're going to pay more than your typical store-bought stuff. No doubt about that, but it is better. I will say that. And you are, as I said, giving that middle finger to the cancel culture mob. Steve says, I liked last week. 9 is a bit late for me. Yeah, well, it's going to have to be, I believe, 9, Steve. I'm afraid to say that's the way it's going to go, because I am so sick of lag and garbageola. It's just bad. It's very frustrating. PBR says video and audio are good on. Yeah, there you go. It's across the board. It's sounding like it's a big win for 9 p.m. Eric says, just like you saw in the intro, you can rent Horror Mike's Witch Tales via Amazon on the cheap. Yes, you can. Thank you, Eric, for putting that in there, dropping that link. Thank you, sir. Kevin says, it works better for me being in mountain time. Oh, of course. That is correct. That's also something Eastern time. Well, yeah, it really kind of depends on how it's going to go, folks, because, for example, I think that if I'm going to do more Sunday nooners, I'm going to keep Friday shows to 2 hours, right? And then do a 2-hour show on Sunday instead of going 3 hours, 3.5, 4 hours. You know what I'm saying? Nah, I don't think that's going to happen. So we're going to have, like, you know, typically speaking, 2 shows. It's not going to be every Sunday, but probably most. Okay. And so we're going to do like 2-hour shows per show. Kevin says, isn't it amazing we still talk? Yes, actually, yeah. And it's one of those things, full disclosure, folks. We just talked a few days ago for the first time in years. It's, you know, a lot of shit happens in life, obviously. You know, I mean, I was literally not in the country for about 5 years. So there's one thing. But we all move all over the place and stuff. And fortunately, though, Kevin found me on, still have my, Facebook, my Real Progress and Ghost Clinic on Facebook. So I'm still technically there, you know, so there you go with that. PBR says, were you able to put any more thought to that story I was telling you about? That's something, PBR, that I want to bring up. I was going to bring it up Sunday, but since Kevin is also here tonight, I might bring that up tonight. Or if you don't, I might be able to get to it. Since I am on my editing computer, I may not be able to get to that. The description that you sent me. Hold on. Let's see something. I might be able to, though. There's Twitter. Let me see if I can get over there. Holy Toledo, I can. All right, hold on, guys. If you don't mind, PBR, I'm going to drop the descriptions in the chat. This must be it, PBR. I'm going to put this, if you don't mind. Is that cool with you, PBR? I'm going to drop this in the chat. Are you there? Just give me just let me know that it's fine. It's your description about what happens in the story. Is he there? Is he still there? PBR, are you there? Have you been whisked away by aliens? My good man. There he is. Okay, here we go. I'm dropping it in the chat. Folks, take a look at this description and see if it jogs your memories. Okay, here it is. Okay, I'm going to read it too. Okay, here's a good portion of it. It wasn't a Wendigo by name, just that the creature reminded me of the Wendigo storyline. The thing that keeps sticking in my mind is how the last survivor at the camp gets away while said creature is attacking the rest of the camp by tricking the creature into looking into a piece of broken mirror, and then it becomes enamored with itself. And that, to me, it sounds very freaking familiar. I could swear that I have read that story, and I started looking through my Weird Tale stuff. As a matter of fact, I've got it all out tonight. Maybe we'll find it in there. It's possible. But there's something about that, folks. Is it ringing a bell with anybody? It's a Wendigo type of creature. They're in the wilderness. They're at a camp. And they get attacked. But the guy, this character tricks the creature into looking into a broken mirror. And then the creature becomes enamored with itself and apparently thus rendered harmless. We're just trying to find the name of that story, the name of that tune, folks, right there. So let that kind of roll around in your heads. Let me go back up. Stories, the horror. Yes. Michael Taylor, Kevin, you just happened to find Mike surfing YouTube. No, on Facebook. PBR, hello to Horror Mike's friend Kevin. Michael Taylor. Amazing that it's the last weekend of the year already. Yes, that is true, folks. And technically the last weekend of the 100th anniversary of Weird Tales magazine. So that's why it's a Weird Tales weekend. It's a wacky and wild Weird Tales weekend, folks. Oh, yes. Steve says, Weird Tales is the American Penny Dreadfuls evolution. Yeah, and so much more. I mean, without Weird Tales, horror, science fiction, and fantasy would probably be really sucking today. Let's just put it that way. Kevin Hellon says, we stumbled across each other again, stumbling about the abattoir called Facebook. Yes. Paul O'Neill is here. Audio and picture are perfect. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. Michael Taylor says, yes, the audio is an improvement from last week. Good to hear it. Get it? Good to hear it. I'm a card. I really should be dealt with. Eric says, here we go for Cousin T's. Yes, Cousin T's on the double dinger right here, folks. Kevin says, I'll have to try that gingerbread pancake mix. Yeah, you know, that one does sound really intriguing. The thing is, you got to find, and you can get them. You can get like a 20%. You know, I have seen 30% discounts, but you got to sign up to Cousin T's, then you'll get them in your email. And because 20% or 30% makes it entirely reasonable. That's the whole thing. And he's just a hilarious dude, man. Very funny guy. Eric says, I hope everyone is having a good time watching and listening to Horror Mike. I hope this last weekend of 2023 is going well for you. Thank you for that sentiment, Eric. Indeed. Michael Taylor says, well, we usually keep it around 2 hours. It often goes beyond 3, Michael Taylor, believe it or not. It can get up there, especially when we have guests. Of course, Stephanie being on, as you recall, that show was 3.5, actually more than 3.5 hours long on Sunday. PBR says, by all means, drop it in the chat. Okay, yeah. And here's the description, folks, if you figure it out. I'll watch Sundays as well, Horror Mike. Thank you, Kevin. It's going to be a good one on Sunday. There's no doubt about it as we wrap up the Weird Tales action. Hopefully you're not the death card. All right, folks, check it out. Now, before we get into the Weird Tales, there's a couple of things I got to show you. I have bookmarked these. You're going to dig it. Now, just to let you know, all right, let's see here. Okay, what the hell is that? Yeah, okay, here we go. All right, yes, you're looking at Creature Features. Folks, tomorrow night, Saturday night at midnight, Creature Features presents The Boneyard. Check out that poodle. Now, it is, you know, if you've seen the movie, you got to see this freaking movie in the first place. It doesn't matter. I believe it's still on Tubi, but Creature Features is presenting it. And of course, they are horror hosts. Okay. I'm going to drop this link in the chat so you can go over there and check them out. But there is a poodle. Okay. This film stars Phyllis Diller and Norman Fell, among others. It's a horror film, folks, from 1991, and it is freaking great. I'm not going to give away anything. There's a poodle that figures mightily into this film. There are some of the creepiest zombie kids. It's the only way I can really describe them. They're zombie children, but they're much creepier than your typical zombie. It's about the only way I can tell you. You just got to see it to believe it. Okay. There is massive payoff in this movie. Phyllis Diller, Norman Fell. Okay. There is a horror comedy element. It's not that big. Okay. For the most part, this is played like a horror film. There are some outrageous scenes in the film. This is happening tomorrow night, being hosted by the fine folks at Creature Features. And I'm going to catch it. I'm going to be watching it tomorrow night at midnight. There is no doubt about that. I can watch this film. It's one of those movies I can watch once a year with no problem. I just, an annual event and just dig the hell out of it. So check it out. I thought I'd give them a little publicity there because they deserve it. Oh, yes, they do. Also, I want to, a little pat on the back myself. Here, let's see what the hell this is. I don't know. Oh, this is the live show shit. All right. I just want to check out. Yeah, that's looking good. God, at least it's holding together, folks. I'm glad. A couple of things on my site that happened that are really cool. I've just surpassed 1,700 subscribers. Thank you. Thanks to everybody that subscribed to the Horror Mike channel. I really appreciate it. And Haunted Thrills has just crossed over the 2-year mark on YouTube, and it has also hit. It has gone over 33,000 views, which is fantastic for me. Let's put it that way. In the large scheme of things, maybe it's not that much, but for me, that's a huge deal. And I am just glad. I'm, glad that it's found an audience. People seem to really enjoy it. I've got a ton of comments on it. So it's really good. It's really good. And I plan on doing another documentary this coming year, 2024. There's so much to choose from. I mean, you can't, good Lord, man, you just cannot go wrong. There's so much out there, folks. And there's the one thing, the way I look at things is that I like to focus in on a lot of stuff that nobody else covers. That doesn't make me Mr. Popularity, but I really don't give a shit. I like looking at obscure stuff. You know, I did this Colossus the Forbin project video called Colossus the Forbin Conspiracy, and it got a lot of traffic, right? And the most pissed off people you can find, if you watch the video, just look at the comments. It is hilarious. I mean, people are trying to tell me that this film is legally available online. It is not. It has been yanked from every streaming platform. You can just go to, you can watch the video. I show it how it's been yanked, and people are like, no, it hasn't. It's everywhere. There's no conspiracy, blah, blah, blah. Well, there may not be a conspiracy, but you cannot watch it anywhere except on pirate channels, or you can. It is available on archive.org. Full disclosure there. Of course, everything is on archive.org, right? You can you just name it. It's probably there. But in any case, so I get a lot of, I do some controversial stuff. That's great. I like it. I like it when people are like, hating on some of my videos. That's totally fine. It just shows that they're watching them. That's good. It does. It is definitely it's something. Let's put it that way, folks. But all right, that was enough patting myself on the back there. Let's move on, shall we? Now, let's just kind of ease on into the Weird Tales thing. I just want to point out a couple of things here. Once again, the Best of Lovecraftiana is currently on sale on Amazon. I'm just going to drop the link in the chat. I do this stuff. It's there if you're interested, folks. What it is, it's a book. I ended up having one illustration in the book. I'm going to remove this. Here it is. Now, this particular issue of the Best of Lovecraftiana or Lovecraftiana is book size, as you can see. And that's cool because really the emphasis is on the stories, right? It doesn't do much for the illustrations, of course, because you're shrinking them down. I'll show you what Lovecraftiana looks like. Here's a typical issue. Now, this is the Halloween issue. And as you can see on the cover, that cover is by me. It is the Brown Jenkin from Dreams in the Witch House. And all of the art in this issue was done by me. So if you're interested in, I don't know, this in the first place, this is a really good issue. But if you're interested in seeing more of my art, check out this one. I'm going to put it up on the screen right now. There we go. I'm going to drop the linky in the chat. So basically what it is, see what is it? I think it's like, what did they say? Okay, they say it's 224 pages. I don't think that's true. I think it's more like 100. It's 135 pages, folks. Well, 137. Yeah, but in any case, let me get back. Yeah, as far as for illustrators goes, the large size is obviously superior. So I really dug the hell out of the Halloween, this particular Halloween issue. I think they did a great job with the reproduction of the art. Love the cover. They also have the cover in black and white on the inside somewhere. amongst other illustrations. Where the hell they put it? Oh, there it is. It does look pretty groovy in black and white. So there you go. In any case, I do recommend it. The stories are great in this. You have Black Veins by Carlton Herzog, The Show Must Go On by Scott Arbuckle, to name a few. It is a very solid issue of Lovecraftiana. And I mean, I recommend it because of my fine art. You know, I'm a fine artist. Just kidding. Or am I? But let's get serious here, folks. Let's just get down to the brass tacks, shall we, of the entire thing. And that is Weird Tales. Okay. Now, starting into Weird Tales, here's what I want to do. I'm going to start with the original pulp magazines that I have. I really have 3. I think you've seen 2 of them. The third one, I don't think you've seen. Okay, but check these out. They are 3 of my, well, this one's my favorite. There's no doubt about it. I love them all, but I know you've seen this. It's the April 1934 issue featuring Hugh B Cave with the story The Black Gargoyle, which is fantastic. This is, simply put, the stories in this is one of the best issues of Weird Tales I've ever read. And as you notice on the bottom, over here, there we go, Hazel Held. That is actually H.P. Lovecraft. Hazel Held is a real person. She was a woman that wrote very rough stories. She would send them to Lovecraft, and he would totally revise them and submit them as Hazel Held to Weird Tales, because he was getting printed so many times, published by Weird Tales. He started using when he did revisions, he would use the original name of the author, even though he typically revised the entire story himself in order to get it published into Weird Tales. And Hazel Held is one of those names that he used. The story is The Winged Death, and it's fantastic. And that relates to a book that I'm going to show you shortly. But this is April of 1934, folks. It's about 4 months away from being 90 years old. This particular Weird Tale, look at that. The binding is still fantastic on this. I mean, it's an issue that I can actually read. Okay, that's what I'm saying, without worrying about it falling apart. So that's pretty astounding, considering that it's a pulp magazine. These things typically do not stand up to the test of time. It's just simply because the paper is so damn cheap. But this one has. And I've been taking very good care of it as well. Next one, early 40s, 1942, folks, with a delicious Hans Bach cover. Check out that freaking cover. And this has posthumously published H.P. Lovecraft story, of course, Herbert West, Reanimator. Yes, this is where it happened. Even after Lovecraft's death in 1937, for several years, Weird Tales continued to publish the stories that, they never got to while he was alive. And you may notice, I think it's on the cover. Yeah, Gray Laspina, female writer, also contributed to this, and Robert Bloch. This could be the first year that Robert Bloch actually contributed to Weird Tales magazine, 1942. And he figured largely into Weird Tales almost, I think, until its demise in 1954. There's a huge, huge connection between Robert Bloch. Well, Robert Bloch, Harlan Ellison, Dangerous Visions, and comic books, in particular Marvel comics that we're going to be covering on Sunday. I think you're going to want to see that. But once again, yeah, and incredibly enough, once again, this is an issue that I don't have any problems with reading. Let me show you a couple of illustrations here, folks. I just saw these and it blew my freaking mind. Hans Bach. Oh, these are great too. I'm not sure who the artist is. They have like a thing on superstitions and taboos. Check that out. That is just so cool. From 1942. But let me show you the kick-ass Hans Bach illustrations. Hopefully I'll be able to find the damn things. And where the hell are they? Oh, here we go. Check these out. Now, this is a story called Hell on Earth by Robert Bloch. Check out those Bach illustrations. The one on my left is well, they're both pretty bizarre. But that one with the strange creature with the mouth, I don't know what the hell it is. It's like a stick with a face. I don't know. But that is Hans Bach, folks. The great Hans Bach, who did the cover. And this one you have not seen. I have never shown this before. I do not believe. So what I have here, I've got one issue from 1934, one from 1942, and I had to skip ahead to 1953 with a fantastic Virgil Finlay cover and a great story called Slime. Oh, it says a horror. What? Jeez Louise. Oh, yeah. A horror which knew not fear. Slime. I'm not familiar with the author, Joseph Payne Brennan. Not familiar with him, but it's a great story. Fantastic Virgil Finlay cover. Now, as you can see with this one, yes, that spine, tape the hell out of that spine there. And you can no longer, the binding just kind of disintegrated, apparently. I bought this, I think it was $15, which is still a great deal. It's an excellent issue. Other than the spine taped, it's in very good shape. Mary Elizabeth Councilman was another big writer for Weird Tales. The great illustration there by this guy. Who is that? I'm having problems reading here. Joseph Eberl, I guess. But this is her story, Night Court, for example. Really cool illustration. So, there you go. That's kind of like what I've just shown you is Weird Tales spanning 3 decades, right? Early 30s, early 40s, and then early 50s. I never got any 1920s issues because, well, they're really hard to come by in any decent shape. They're going to cost a lot of money. That's kind of what I'm talking about there, folks. I don't have that kind of ducatry, okay, to spend on the 1920s issue of Weird Tales. However, I do have the money to spend on nice reprints and facsimiles of 1920s Weird Tales, which is what I've done. And I'm going to show you a few great ones. Now, you guys have seen some of these. I know I've shown you this fantastic 1924, well, it's March 1924 issue of Weird Tales with this great freaking Houdini cover, right? When Houdini was just as popular as ever. Houdini was, at that time, in the mid-20s, may have been the most popular human in the United States. It's possible. This guy was like just meteoric, you know, as far as his popularity as an illusionist, magician, and so forth, you know. But this one, I believe, the Spirit Fuckers of Hermannstadt, I think was actually written by Lovecraft. Don't quote me on that, but I do know one thing. Lovecraft did ghostwrite for Harry Houdini for Weird Tales. So this may be one that he actually ghost wrote for Houdini. But these reproductions, you can get, they're pretty decent. I'll show you like an illustration. Kind of an average type of thing inside. Let me find a decent one. There we go. Yeah. So cool. I bet you this was, I'm pretty damn sure this was Lovecraft. Although I may be wrong, but not sure about the illustrator. Really cool illustration, though. And these reprints typically cost between $10 to $12, you know, and they're done pretty well. They're not, they have everything. They have all of the ads. They, you know, it's just like a kind of like a replica comic book. They include all of the great ads that you would see. I mean, folks, you know, if you love ads like from 1950s, 1940s comics, how about ads from 1920s pulp magazines? Okay. There we go. Folks, just out, the new national set, 16 of the most popular foxtrots, songs, and waltzes for $2.98. There you go, right there, folks. So in any case, that is the earliest replica I've got, right? March of 1924. Then we move on to June of 1926. Now, I got to tell you, I'm going to have to put on my damn glasses. It's really, it's too much, folks. It's too much of a challenge. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this one's got, this is how you would usually see their stories, right? They have a Lovecraft story called The Moonbog, which is good, but they also have The Upper Berth by F. Marion Crawford. That is a creepy ass freaking story. The Upper Berth. If you ever get a chance, read that one. That will creep you out, folks. I wasn't really much on the covers. I liked when Margaret Brundage came in. The early 20s covers, or I should say really mid to late 20s covers like this just didn't really do much for me, you know. But you have to start somewhere. The first several years were just chaotic with Weird Tales. I mean, it almost went under. They wanted to bring in H.P. Lovecraft as the editor, but he didn't want to move to Chicago. So he turned them down. Then I believe it was Farnsworth Wright that came in as the editor. And after a bit of, you know, hiccups and so forth, he got it on track. And Weird Tales became fantastic. You know, it really grew into a hell of of a magazine. Now, this is June of 1928. Better illustration on the cover. Kind of digging that. The Devil's Martyr by Signe Toksvig. Not familiar with that person. But once again, as you can see on the bottom, you got H.P. Lovecraft, Seabury Quinn, Edmund Hamilton, Bertram Russell is in this one. Let us see what the Lovecraft is, shall we? Oh, the Lurking Fear. Ooh. Nice, nice. There we go. On the top, H.P. Lovecraft, this is the first publication of The Lurking Fear. I dig it. I dig it, folks. Fantastic. So many great writers. Donald Wandre is in this. Manly Wade Wellman. Also, August Derleth, The Philosopher's Stone. God. June 1928. We have March 1929 with The People of Pan right there on the cover. August Derleth is once again in this. I know I bought it for primarily for that was it. This issue I bought primarily for The Hounds of Tyndalos by Frank Belknap Long. Oh yes, a tale of unutterable horror, of a pursuit by loathsome entities through the ages and through the dimensions. There you go, folks. I mean, come on. It's Weird Tales 1929. And these reprint, once again, they're really well done. You get all of the stuff. You get the great ads that they had, you know. I don't know. I mean, they look good, you know. When you look at that reproduction, I think that's decent, very decent, you know. And they cost between $10 to $12. Now, you can find these on eBay, and you can also find them on lulu.com. That's lulu.com, folks. Next up, March of 1930. They're advertising a story by Gaston Leroux, who, of course, wrote The Phantom of the Opera on here, but they also have The Drums of Damballa by Seabury Quinn. And let me tell you who's in this one. Oh, yes. Now, you've been watching my show. I've mentioned this before. Let's see who's going to drop it into the chat first. There's a particular story here, folks. See at the bottom? By a woman, Amelia Reynolds Long. The story is called The Thought Monster. A gooseflesh story of a sudden and frightful deaths caused by a strange creature in a panic-stricken village. Think about that. The Thought Monster. What movie adapted that story into a late 1950s sci-fi horror classic? You've seen it. As a matter of fact, I would say that probably 80% of the people in the chat have seen the film. I have it on Criterion DVD. That might give you a hint. I'm going to count it down, folks. Do 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 da 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 do do da da do da do da 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 da. Let's take a look. Does anybody have it? No. Okay. Well, folks, the Thought Monster became Fiend Without a Face, starring Marshall Thompson, about the invisible creatures that attack a village. They become visible, and they are brains with stems. They're animated. It's stop motion animation. It is fantastic. One of my favorite films. I have it on Criterion DVD. You've got to check it out. If you have not seen it somehow, it's a great. We're going to be taking a closer look at Fiend Without a Face on Sunday with the movie section. Here we go with. Oh, wait a second. Did I just? Yeah, I showed you this one. Okay, we got that one. Now, this one is not a reprint. This is actually about Weird Tales. I just wanted to show you this. This is the Weird Tales story by Robert Weinberg, who sadly passed away a few years ago. But this is a really good book. You can get it on eBay, and probably it's Wildside Press, folks. So Wildside Press is still going. I think they're quite alive. They're in New Jersey. The great thing about the Weird Tales story, of course, it is in black and white, granted. There you go. They show a lot of issues of Weird Tales. But they do show a lot of the great interior illustrations. For example, let me get to that. Yeah, just throughout the... Well, not too good. Hold on. Hey, here we go. Some prime Virgil Finlay right there. Absolutely fantastic. And naturally, at the beginning, they cover all of the writers that were involved. And here, there's Frank Belknap Long on the bottom there. E. Hoffman Price above him, for example. So it's really quite the book that covers everything. You know, it's obviously, it's only like 150 pages, but I think they do a very, very good job of covering the writers and the artists. There's some prime Lee Brown Coy art right there. That guy, I've got a book on his art, which I will be showing. As a matter of fact, I think I've got it out. So I think we're going to take a peek at that tonight. Highly recommended. Once again, I think it runs, you can find copies for $15. So it's very reasonable, in other words, you know, but highly recommended. This is a great book to find out about, you know, the history of Weird Tales, the writers, the artists that were involved, and so forth. I mean, it would have been great if there was a color section, but I understand. You know, it's like, look, printing is, well, it's expensive, folks. And when you add color, it gets even more expensive. Oh, yes. All right. So that kind of ends part one of the show and tell. I've still got that stack of books back there, folks. So, yes, and some original Arkham House, too, that we're going to get to in a second. But let me get back to the chat, because I know I've missed a lot of people. Here we go. Michael Taylor, you wouldn't expect to see Phyllis Diller and Norman Fell in a movie like this. No, which is what makes it so damned cool, Michael Taylor, to see them in a horror film. We're talking about the Boneyard, folks. It's playing tomorrow night on Creature Features at midnight. Creature Features is on YouTube. It's a channel. They're horror hosts. They do a great job I really like their show a lot. I think they're one of the best horror hosts out there, going right now. And just a reminder, too, I believe it is Sunday night for New Year's Eve. The Mummy and the Monkey, who are also on YouTube, are doing a New Year's Eve show. So you might want to catch that, too. There's plenty of great action going on this weekend. Of course, if you just came in, I'm doing part 2 of the Weird Tales show on Sunday for the Horror Mike Sunday Nooner at noon Eastern Standard Time. And that will be covering more so the movies, adaptations, and comic books that have been a ton of comic books, including not only mainstream stuff like Marvel Comics, but underground comics. So, and going back all the way to the pre-code era of the early 1950s. Steve says, Mike, name the Facebook pages again. Yes, that is, Steve, that's Ghost Clinic and Real Progress. That's REEL, Progress. PBR Street Gang, not for sure if I asked before. Have you seen the TV series Penny Dreadful? Yes, I really liked it. I liked it a lot. I think something happened at the end of it. I was reading about it. They kind of, didn't they suddenly just yank it? They canceled it. There was some shenanigans going on with that show. Yeah, I thought it was definitely at the time one of the best shows on, and for some reason they decided to pull the plug. I'm not sure why, but they did. Alas, they did. Steve says, I loved it, but Frankie's Monster could have been more horrendous. Frankie's Monster. I'm not sure I follow that one. The time, you mean well, I don't want to give it away. I think it was, the thing about it, Steve, is that I think there are comedic elements to the Boneyard. There are some really creepy freaking things, stuff that when you're watching it, you're just like, whoa, those undead kids, those zombie children, some of the scariest looking, most realistic looking undead I've ever seen in my life. They're just really creepy as hell. The way that they do them, the whole thing about them being in the hospital, and like basically trapped in the hospital, it's just such a great premise and well acted too. I thought the acting for the most part was really spot on. The tie-in to the Old West was cool. The dime novel element, yes. Eric says, if you want to check out and get some cool looking merch, Horror Mike has a store on Zazzle. It's Haunted Thrills, folks. It's the Haunted Thrills store where you can pick up some playing cards like this. Let me show you. I actually bought a deck myself. I made them, and then I bought it. I actually bought 2 decks. One of them I'm giving away. People that buy First Man on Mars on Blu-ray, this comes with it. It's a playing card featuring Haunted Thrills. It's a documentary, of course, on my YouTube channel. So you get one of these as a freebie. Thank you for the plug, Eric. I appreciate it. Paralysis by Analysis is on the scene. Hello, Paralysis by Analysis. Welcome to the show, my friend. Why was the film yanked off the shelves, and what was the film's name again? The film is called Colossus, the Forbin Project. It's a 1970 film based upon a mid-1960s novel of the same name. And it deals with artificial intelligence. If you haven't seen it, I'm not going to give away too much, but let's put it this way. It presents a rather grim depiction of what would happen if artificial intelligence truly took over. And for me, what happened is that I had it marked on Vudu. I don't know if you ever rent films off of voodoo.com. I had it, bookmarked on Vudu. I was going to go back and rent it. And I did. I went back a few months after I had bookmarked it. It was gone. And I was like, oh, shit, they yanked it from Vudu. I started looking everywhere. You can look it up right now. Go to every major legal streaming platform. It is gone. They have yanked it. Why? I do not know. It is controlled by Universal. There's no reason for it. They had it up. It's not like you can't lose money, folks. Once the film is up and it's streaming, there's no legitimate reason for yanking it. It's got to be another reason altogether. So in the video, if you watch the video, you'll see, I think there was some shenanigans. There was a bit of skullduggery and perhaps a bit of thuggery by the Universal executives. Okay. For some reason, they did not want this film up and available legitimately. I mean, you can go to your Put Locker or whatever the hell, Pirate Bay. Yeah, they've got it. Sure. Everybody's got everything illegally. The point is that you can't legally watch it. You can't go and rent it from a legitimate store, And I found that ridiculous. So I made this video about it, and people just kind of went nuts. It was pretty funny, actually. You can read the comments. It's pretty hilarious. There's the Lovecraftiana. Eric says, dang, I missed that paralysis by analysis. I tried to help, but I didn't catch it. Oh, yeah, that's Colossus, the Forbin Project. It's such a great movie, folks. It really is. It's so much better than Terminator. With Skynet, it is the answer to the AI question on a much more logical, thoughtful level. That's all I'm going to say. It's really well done. It's complex. I think it presents a scenario that would be very likely if artificial intelligence, the way that we kind of understand it right now, were to, go live, quote unquote, around the world. This was written in the 60s. This guy knew exactly what the hell was going on. You just you take the premise of artificial intelligence, you think about it. What is it? What would a supercomputer do? What would the first thing be that a supercomputer would do? I think it makes the logical step. It connects the dots, and it presents I don't know. I'm not going to say any more about it. It's very thought-provoking. You got to check it out. Folks, it is on archive.org. You can just go to archive.org, put in Colossus the Forbin Project, and watch the movie. It's there because archive.org has got every damn thing on the planet, okay, including that movie. But as far as renting it from a streaming platform, no dice. See where we're at here. Always down for some cosmic horror, indeed. We love the cosmic horror here on the Horror Mike Show. No doubt about that. Joe says, I heard most of New England is powered by electricity generated by Lovecraft spinning in his grave. Woohoo! Joe, I mean, how many terrible Lovecraft adaptations are there? There's plenty of those. And there's also idiots that they'll be like, we'll see this on Sunday with the Tubi selections, where you've got these people that put like H.P. Lovecraft's The Jerk from Sheboygan or something, whatever the title is. The Nameless Ones, I think. Or what was it called? No, it wasn't The Nameless Ones. It was I don't know, like the evil ones or something that's on Tubi. I'll show you. He didn't write anything like that. They're just literally taking his name and saying, yeah, if we put H.P. Lovecraft on the top and imply that he wrote this freaking thing, it will sell more copies or some such crap. Eric says he may have been talking about Boneyard. How many Lovecraft adaptations were done well? Yeah, only a few. And the 1970s Dunwich Horror was not one of them. Okay, let's just kind of put that right out there. It's probably one of the worst adaptations ever made with Dean Stockwell. We're going to look at that Sunday too. Just, I don't know, bring some ointment. Okay, I don't know. Creepy Art Horror Mike, nice job getting published. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate that, man. PBR says, thanks, Eric. We'll check it out. Paralysis says, Eric, okay, so that the movie that Creature Features is showing tomorrow then is the Boneyard. Right. Colossus, the Forbin Project is the thing that I did a video on it. I don't know if, I think that's what you were talking about, though. You referred to something else in your statement. Yeah, you said right here. It was not, yeah. The Boneyard was not yanked off of shelves. It was Colossus, the Forbin Project, the film I was just talking about. Michael Taylor says, not weird tales, but amazing stories. I think had Buck Rogers' first appearance, great cover. Yeah, you had amazing and astounding. I believe those were like, they were definitely more of the science fiction pulps, you know, but they were in there, you know, no doubt about that. Michael Taylor, great Weird Tales Houdini cover. Yes. You can get a Blu-ray of Horror Mike's First Man on Mars via eBay. It is still on sale, folks. $8.45 right there. Make it an annual watch party for you and your friends. Good Lord. Okay. All right. Now, okay. Just a guess, but the thing, okay, that was the deal with the gig. I know I've heard you talk about it in the past, forgot though, that was Fiend Without a Face, which was that story, The Thought Monster. Michael Taylor, fantastic Weird Tales, especially Houdini reprint. It is cheap. Yeah, go to eBay or go to lulu.com. Sometimes the prices are cheaper there, folks. Here's the link for The Mummy and the Monkey. Yes, that they're doing a Sunday night New Year's Eve show live, folks. I think that you got to check that out because it could be really quite good. Their shows are pretty enjoyable. You know, they do a good job. And the Mummy is easy on the eyes. Let's put it that way. She's otherwise known as Janet Decay. And she's simply delightful. Okay, that's what I'm saying right now. Kevin says, thank you, Eric. Graphic Man is here. Hello, Graphic Man. How are you doing, my good man? Good to see you. Michael Taylor, maybe Universal knows something they don't want us to know, lol. Could be. Kevin says, Colossus, the Forbin Project is well worth watching. I saw it in a theater during the 70s. Yeah. That was definitely the first time, you know, I'd seen it in a theater. No, of course for us, Kevin, you know, that was like the only way you could see it in the 70s. Unless you had your own damn theater with a projector. You know, geez Louise, man. I think it was, I may have seen it. You may have seen it at one of the revival theaters, you know, those great, like the Sherman, remember that? Or the New Art, where they would show like 2 or 3 movies. They'd change them out every week. and they would just line up all of these classic sci-fi and horror films and constantly change them out. I'm sure that I saw it at one of those. It probably was the Sherman Theater. A lot of great stuff there. Indy Atman. Okay. Agreed 100% on that Dunwich Horror movie. Yes. Yeah, I mean, look, Dean Stockwell is an excellent actor, but look, the character, it's just like, what? What the hell did you do with the freaking character, man? And then suddenly there's this love thing with Sandra Dee. No. Folks, if you ever get a chance, read the Dunwich Horror. They're apparently the same people that made The Color Out of Space with Nicolas Cage, which was pretty good. I thought it was pretty good. Let's put it that way. They kind of did a few things to it that I didn't like, but way better than the Dunwich Horror with Dean Stockwell. In any case, they are apparently in the midst of doing the Dunwich Horror. I have heard about this. They're going to actually make the Dunwich Horror. So that could be really groovy. I'm stunned that it's gotten so many good reviews. I don't know. Yeah, obviously the good reviews are from people that never read the story. That's the only thing I can think of, man. Sold my Folkum. Something like that. Says, hey, Mike, can you recommend some non-Lovecraft weird fiction adaptations? Definitely, if you're talking about film adaptations, the one I was just talking about, Fiend Without a Face. Amelia Reynolds Long wrote the story for Weird Tales in 1930, and it was called The Thought Monster. You can actually hear it. You can hear, there's a guy, Edward French, on YouTube. He does a ton of Weird Tales and old stories that he adapts for audio stories. He did an adaptation of The Thought Monster. So if you want to listen to that original story and then watch the movie, The Fiend Without a Face, that's a good way to go. But that's non-Lovecraft. For example, obviously Robert E. Howard, all the Conan, every Conan adaptation ever done is either directly from Weird Tales magazine or spun off, in some way or shape or form from Weird Tales magazine. Everything. Robert E. Howard. Robert Bloch has stories that were originally published in Weird Tales, as well as Ray Bradbury, and were then later adapted either to, for instance, like a TV show or a film. There are many. I'm going to get to a lot of those film adaptations this Sunday at noon Eastern time when I present part 2 of this Weird Tales show, which will be focused on the films, adaptations, and comic book adaptations. Janet decayed nicely. She did. Oh, yes. Kevin says, the revival houses were the only way to see a second run feature. That was it. That was the way to go. And man, we used to go to this. We went to them together. I'm sure we caught many a film like that, at the revival theaters. There were so many of them. At one time, I bet you there were a dozen revival theaters around Los Angeles. Even in Orange County, there was down in freaking Newport Beach, there was the Balboa. We would go down there. We would catch films. They were all over the place, man. What a great time to be alive. No doubt about that. Folks, now we're going to get into some Arkham House. Oh, yes, folks. That's the first things on the stacks here of the books. Now, I've got 2 original Arkham House books. And they're probably some of the least sought after as far as Lovecraft goes. Look, if you want to talk Arkham House, The Outsiders, and so forth, you're going to pay through the nose with that stuff. But this was very reasonable. I think I paid $40 for this. This is the Dark Brotherhood and Other Places by H.P. Lovecraft, and as it says, diverse hands, right? So you have other writers. I love the cover. That's a really cool cover. So on the inside here, yeah, it just said, let me give you a rundown here. This posthumous collaboration is not the only fiction in this volume. There are a trio of notable tales by C.M. Eddy Jr., revised by Lovecraft once again, which is The Loved Dead, Deaf, Dumb, and Blind, and The Ghost Eater. Let me get to the... Yeah, you've got an intro by August Derleth, then a few direct Lovecraft stories and verse. He's also got 6 poems in here, 3 stories by C.M. Eddy Jr., then people talking, like, God, this is so great. Through Hyperspace with Brown Jenkin by none other than Fritz Leiber, folks. We're going to be talking about Fritz Leiber, his starring, well, I should say his co-starring role in a rather famous Weird Tales Lovecraft-inspired movie from 1967. We're going to be taking a look at that on Sunday, and that's going to be quite fascinating. Fritz Leiber actually playing a character in a movie, okay? That's what I'm talking about. So, yeah, this is like odds and ends type of stuff here with the Dark Brotherhood and Other Places, but it's really cool. The other original I have before showing you the other Arkham House, this is the, it's just kind of a bad cover. I don't know. It's called Dreamer on the Night Side. And it's a great book. It's by Frank Belknap Long, and it's about Howard Phillips Lovecraft. And of course, Long was one of his greatest, best friends, right? So they hung out quite a lot. And it is fascinating. There are some great photos he's got. There's a young Lovecraft there, of course, but it's also got these really amazing off-the-cuff type of photos that I had never seen before. Let me find one in particular that was rather, yeah, I mean, just stuff like this. It's Long and Lovecraft in Flatbush, Brooklyn, July 1931. They would do shit like this. Sometimes they were humorous. Sometimes they were just kind of strange photos, you know. But in any case, it's fascinating because Long describes how Lovecraft did things. Like, for example, Lovecraft, one day, they're in New York, and Lovecraft wants to go buy a writing pen. So Long goes along with him to buy this pen. They go into a shop, and Lovecraft spends like 3 hours in the shop looking at various pens. He's trying them out and stuff. He takes breaks. He goes back to trying out more pens. And it's just coming from Frank Belknap Long talking about Lovecraft. And of course, they also talk about, I want to call it the Calum Club. Wasn't that it? The Calum Club that they formed. It was like Long and Lovecraft and some other writers that were part of this club. And so he talks about that as well. It's fascinating. It's great. Once again, Dreamer on the Night Side. I'm sure you can get a reprint. you know, a much later edition for cheap, but it is fascinating, folks. So there you go. Okay. This is what I wanted to get at with Arkham and Lovecraft's rewrites. This is a collection called The Horror in the Museum. Now, this is a much later, I think this is like a 2018 Arkham House edition. The Horror in the Museum is all of Lovecraft's revision work. Okay. So you've got just the classics in here, such as Curse of Yig, The Mound. And I want to say that The Mound, let's get to it. They do kind of a crappy job of. Yeah, right. So The Mound is Zalia Bishop. He rewrote the story. She wrote the original. He totally rewrote it. All of the Hazel Held stories, including The Winged Death, are in here. And of course, she also wrote the Horror in the Museum. She did. Yeah, Curse of Yig was also Zalia Bishop. That is correct. Medusa's Coil, another Zalia Bishop one. So there's quite a few great stories. I love this collection. Highly recommended if you get a chance. You can go to the Arkham House website, and I think I bought this for $20, on the site. Well worth it. I really dig the hell out of this. And they talk a bit about, of course, the way that Lovecraft approached doing revisions of stories of other authors and so forth. So it's fascinating. Highly recommended, folks. The Horror in the Museum from Arkham House. It's another good one. Now, this one gives you a really good look into not only Arkham's writers, the other writers, right? But also various authors that, of course, originally wrote for Weird Tales. And this is, once again, from Arkham House. I forget what year this was published. 2000. In the year 2000. You can't really, I'm going to take this out of the dust jacket because you got to, I don't think you can really see this, but this is a photo of August Derleth, Robert Bloch, Henry Kuttner, and Harold Gower. August Derleth is on this end. I know that. But for example, the writers included in this particular volume are Clark Ashton Smith, of course, H.P. Lovecraft, Donald Wandre, Robert E. Howard, Robert Bloch, Carl Jacoby, who was all over Weird Tales, Henry Whitehead, another one, of course, Frank Long, another Weird Tales alumnus, I should say, E. Hoffman Price, Gray LaSpina, Ray Bradbury is also in this, Mary Elizabeth Councilman, geez Louise, Seabury Quinn, of course, and a couple of collaborations. There's one with August Derleth and Mark Schorer. But there you go. Arkham's Masters of Horror, edited by Peter Ruber from the year 2000, Arkham House. And you can, once again, you can find this probably in great shape for $20, I would imagine somewhere in and around that. And it's great. Really great, man. It gives you another insight into the Weird Tales Arkham House writers. Now, that's not to say it's the best. It certainly is not. As far as Weird Tales go, I'm about to show you those. Okay. If you want some good anthologies or compilations of Weird Tales writers, check these out. We're going to start off with, I think this is Wildside Press again. Yeah, it is. Wildside Press takes a look at Weird Tales 1923 in this rather thin volume, but it's a good one because this is, I believe, for the 1923 was the first Lovecraft story published in October, and that was Dagon, right? Yep. So very crucial in the year 1923. That was his first published story in Weird Tales. So this is very good. You can pick these up cheap from Wildside Press. Another one. Great Weird Tale. This is really quite good. Now, this is Dover Press. And it's edited by S.T. Joshi. Right here, folks. Great Weird Tales, 14 stories by Lovecraft, Blackwood, Machen, and others. I wonder if that story, PBR Street Gang, is by Machen. The one that we were talking about. I don't know. Did I? Oh, yeah. Shit, I took that out. Crap. All right, folks. I digress. I'm sorry. But in any case, you have William Hope Hodgson in this, Ambrose Bierce, Arthur Machen, Algernon Blackwood, Lord Dunsany, F. Marion Crawford. Quite the lineup. Of course, H.P. Lovecraft, the facts concerning the late Arthur German and his family, as well as R.H. Barlow, who is also a good friend of H.P. Lovecraft's, and Frank Belknap Long. So this is quite good. And of course, as I said, S.T. Joshi does the introduction on this, and he's the editor. So you know it's going to be good, folks. That's what I'm saying. Then you had all this series by John Betancourt. For example, now these you can buy for a song. You can find them on eBay, folks, for $5, $10. I swear to God. I think that's where I got these. Pretty cheap. They're so good. John Betancourt, Barnes & Noble Books, The Best of Weird Tales. Nice Cthulhu kind of rendering there on the cover. Bring that in there. Pretty cool looking. You got once again, it just goes down the list. You got Brian Lumley in this, F. Paul Wilson, Tanith Lee, Robert Bloch, Henry Kuttner, John Brunner, Ramsey Campbell, incredible. Thomas Legatti. Now, I think this is it's the best of Weird Tales. They don't really say it. I think this may have something to do with more so with the 1970s and 80s of Weird Tales. Doesn't really say it. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't really specifically say that. I've got other ones. For example, yeah. This is Weird Tales, 32 Unearthed Terrors, a story from each year the classic horror and fantasy magazine was published. Introduction by Robert Bloch, which is really cool. Of course, Robert Weinberg, one of the editors. He wrote the book I showed you. They signed this one, or they signed a card. All three of the editors signed this Weird Tales card. Trust me, once again, I bought this, I think it was $10 or $15 on eBay. I didn't even know it was signed until I saw the little leaf inside. But yeah, fantastic. Everybody is freaking in. It's by the year. Once again, you have Fritz Lieber, Henry Whitehead, Seabury Quinn, Clark Ashton Smith, and here C.L. Moore, Mary Elizabeth Councilman, Frank Long, Carl Jacoby, Ray Bradbury as it gets into the 40s. Let's see what it starts off with. They have the case of Charles Dexter Ward as well, which is a great Lovecraft story. They start off 1923 with A Square of Canvas by Anthony M. Rudd. The Parasitic Hand by R. Anthony from 1926. I do believe I've read that one. Evolution Island also sounds familiar. Edmund Hamilton. I've got to go back and read through this one. Robert E. Howard, 1929. The Shadow Kingdom. Incredible stuff. This is also like, they also have the illustrations in here. This is kind of like a, the way that they lay it, the way it's laid out, it's kind of laid out like an issue of Weird Tales magazine. As you can see with the header and stuff, they have the illustrations to the stories. There is The Shadow Kingdom by Robert E. Howard from 1929. So that's really quite cool. And this, of course, they don't have the ads and stuff that were from the original Weird Tales, but still really nice. This one is it's actually the same. I have two copies of the same book, folks. I ended up getting, this is the same book. It is fantastic. Edited by Peter Haining. So I'm going to show you the one with the saucy cover. Oh, this is the one with the saucy cover. Check out that saucy Margaret Brundage cover. Yes, that's what I'm talking about right there. Oh, yes. And on the cover, as you can see, Edmund Hamilton, Robert E. Howard, Clark Ashton Smith. This is really quite good. And again, it's not going to cost you much. You can find these on eBay. Just look up Robert Haining Weird Tales. I'm sorry. Peter Haining. My mistake. Peter Haining Weird Tales. It'll come right up. Again, you get the fabulous Weird Tales illustrations. There we go. That is pretty great. Pretty saucy, actually. I believe they even reprint the Erie. Yeah, I'll show you that in a second. God, they do have all of the great illustrations in here from various artists, including, of course, Virgil Finlay, Lee Brown Coy, and so forth. But they also have, in this particular book, they decided to reprint the letters to the editor, which was the Erie, right? In each issue of Weird Tales, they would have the Erie. Now, often, H.P. Lovecraft would write also to the Erie and talk about the stories that he had read in Weird Tales. For those of you that don't know, H.P. Lovecraft lived to write, basically. He just wrote constantly. He had 5 volumes. Folks, I'm talking about 5 volumes like this, published by Arkham House, of just letters that he wrote to people. 5 volumes. Okay, imagine that. More than a lot of writers ever produce. Let's put it that way. And they were just letters that he wrote. Okay, so the Erie was fascinating because there would sometimes be like these ongoing controversies that would develop from people talking about stories and so forth. Oh God, this is great. This is great, man. Oh my God. They really do the reproductions quite well. Stay tuned for terror. And of course, you have the ads. Really quite unusual for it to be published like this in a book, you know? You wouldn't expect it page for page reproductions, but they did, and I really dig it, man. Highly recommended. This book, once again, folks, if you want to check it out. It's called Weird Tales, and Peter Haining. Remember that. Haining, Haining. He is the editor. It has a couple of different covers. This happens to be one of them. It's a Margaret Brundage cover. Let's delve a little deeper into this. Check that out. God. Holy shit. It's kind of an illustration I would almost expect to see in a late 40s or early 50s pre-code comic book as well. It just has that twisted kind of look about it, you know? It's for a story called The Shot Tower Ghost by Mary Elizabeth Councilman. But that is one hell of an illustration. So weird. Well, it is Weird Tales after all. Let's take a look. Let's see what other fine illos we can dig up here, folks. There are some great stories in this too. Nice. I don't know. Some of these artists I am not familiar. I'm not familiar with, but this is from the Valley Was Still, a story by Manly Wade Wellman, and a really cool illustration for that. They did a great job reproducing it just has a Weird Tales vibe, folks. You know, that's one thing I really dig about it. Here's a really cool Finlay. Virgil Finlay for The Frozen Beauty by Seabury Quinn. So what Haining has done successfully here is that he has produced a book that goes, as you can see, here's all the stories, quite a few. It goes chronologically through Weird Tales, but not only does he just reprint the stories, he's reprinting the stories as they were originally published from Weird Tales magazine. So you get all of the illustrations, you get all of the ads, everything, including, of course, the Erie, the letters to the editor, which is fascinating. So it makes this book, to me, as far as I'm concerned, I think this is one of the best books if you want to get a real good feeling for Weird Tales in book form. This may be the best one. Weird Tales edited by Peter Haining. And once again, God, I think I bought these for like $10 to $15 each, something like that. You know, you can probably find them in bookstores where you live. You know, if you got any large bookstores, I wouldn't be surprised. So there you go. That is, well, and this is the other cover, just to let you know. It is the same book. Yeah, and it does say literally on here, a facsimile selection from the world's greatest fantasy magazine. So he literally publishes them just like they were in Weird Tales, which is fantastic. I love that. You just get more of a feel for the time. Obviously, it's got the original ads, the eerie where you've got the letters to the editor and so forth, and it just has that. It kind of sucks you into that time and that era of the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, obviously. So highly recommended, folks. Whew. Yeah. And, well, I've, yeah, it's really quite, it's endless. I could show you offshoots in book form and magazine form. But as I was saying, I'm going to try to keep this to 2 hours. It is already coming in on 11 o'clock, believe it or not. But folks, just to give you an idea, Sunday, the Sunday nooner, this Sunday, which is New Year's Eve, I'm going to be doing Weird Tales Part 2. Now, that's going to be the movies, adaptations of including Lovecraft, Robert E. Howard, Robert Bloch, Ray Bradbury, everything that is directly or perhaps a little indirectly related to Weird Tales, we're going to be taking a look at. Stuff that you may not have realized was originally from Weird Tales, was from Weird Tales. Okay, that's what I'm saying. And comic book adaptations of comics going back from pretty much, I would say, circa 1950, at least through to the 1980s, maybe 1990s. As far as the stuff that I've got or that I'm aware of, I know that other adaptations have probably been done in the 21st century. But, my scene is kind of 20th century, so that's kind of the way that goes. Let's get back to the chat, shall we? I know we've had a few people chiming in here. Okay, Michael Taylor says, very cool Dark Brotherhood dust jacket cover. Yes, I like that one a lot. Good old Arkham House, Some of the rare Arkham House Lovecraft books, like The Outsider, which was their first collection published by Lovecraft. If it's in great shape, I've seen them go for 10 or 20 grand. So not in my league, folks. Not something that I'm just going to go out and buy. Let's put it that way. It was great being here. Like usual, I hope everyone can check out Horror Mike's Sunday show. Gotta go. Everyone have a happy new year and be safe. Same to you, Eric. It was great seeing you, my good man. And hopefully we'll see you on Sunday. Have a great weekend, sir. Michael Taylor. And thank you, too, for the doing some of the plugs there in the chat. I really appreciate that. Michael Taylor says, I like that Lovecraft pen story. Yeah, it is. When you read it, Frank Long is a very good writer. So when he's talking about Lovecraft in the store, trying to figure out what pen to buy, it's just primo, man. I could see it. I could just picture Lovecraft, he's looking at like 10 different pens, and it's like 3 hours later, and he's trying to figure out which one to buy. Classic. Just great stuff. PBR says, The Mound is my fave Lovecraft story. It is a great one. And one that, to my knowledge, has not been adapted to film. If I'm not mistaken. Maybe somebody knows something that I don't. But I do not believe that The Mound has been adapted to film form. Very cool Unearthed Terrors cover, yes. Kevin says, TBR Street Gang, The Mound is an evocative story. Yes, it's great, man. And that's, Zalia Bishop, who originally wrote it. And of course, Lovecraft revised it. So another successful revision story, that Lovecraft. Then, of course, it was published in Weird Tales, and the rest is history. Michael Taylor, yeah, that illustration does have a pre-code feel to it. It does. It is kind of bizarre looking and almost distorted. I really kind of dig it. Very cool books. Thank you, Michael Taylor. And folks, that concludes my presentation for this evening. I hope you enjoyed it. And, Sunday's going to be perhaps, maybe that struck some people as a little dry. I'm just going through, pulp magazines and books, but I hope you got something out of it. You could easily spend a year doing live shows on nothing but Weird Tales. Easily, maybe even years. There's no doubt about it. There's so many it's like this massive cosmic tree, right? Of writers and artists, influences all over the place, it's just, I don't know. It's hard to fathom, like the vastness of the Weird Tales universe. But Sunday, we're going to be looking at a ton of movies, adaptations, indirect and direct, and of course, as I was saying, the comic books, of which I have a fair amount. I don't have a ton, but they're really good ones. Quite choice in the Lovecraft, Robert E. Howard, and other writers as well. There's a few in there. Yeah, I got to look into it. Now I have to put all of this stuff back, and then I got to bring out all the other stuff. And of course, when I talk about movies on Sunday, I'm going to be showing you some particular DVDs and a few Blu-rays, but mostly DVDs that I have that you might be interested in, finding, getting. A lot of the Criterion stuff, you guys are aware, Criterion has got their own channel. You can watch some of the Criterion movies. They've adapted some of the best, not adapted, but they have carried or distributed some of the better films as far as science fiction, horror, and fantasy go. And of course, The Fiend Without a Face is one of them. And that was originally from Weird Tales magazine in 1930. So a lot of these films, people aren't aware that they came directly from Weird Tales, but we're going to take a look at that Sunday. My old Taylor says, great show as always, Mike and Chad. Have a great New Year's weekend. I'll be here for the Nooner show. Great. Excellent, Michael Taylor. That is fantastic. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And I hope to see you on Sunday for the Nooner. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun. So you guys take care, and I will talk to you soon. Have a good one.